is up, my hippopotamuses? Wait. What is up, my hippopotami? Wait. What is up, my hip replacement? That's not right either. What is up, my hippies? Mark Christopher here again with, what was that? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm here with another Hippie Pick interview. Now, today I'm super excited to be interviewing this guy. He lives in Florida. His name is Rand, and he's got an awesome story to tell. Now, I can't tell you what company he's from. Can't say that yet, but I can tell you this. I know where he buys his materials. He buys them from Sally, who sells these down by the seashore. So without further ado, let's get Rand in here. Rand, my man. He's gone. He's not even here.
Hi-ho, I'm here.
Oh, I see you. Hey, can you turn the camera? You're like sideways.
Yeah, how did that happen? I didn't do anything. All right, so. Okay.
What is up, my man? How are you?
I'm well.
Now, we haven't really gotten much into who you are, other than I told everybody that your name is Rand, and you got your materials from Sally, who sells this material down by the seashore. So,
that's just a rumor.
That's just a rumor. You can't confirm or deny.
No comment. No comment.
So, okay, you're from Beachside Picks with a K, correct?
That's right. That's right. I'm here in sunny Florida.
It's sunny. It's sunny here in Kentucky. It has rained all day, and for some reason, right now it is sunny, and I'm like, hallelujah, you know?
Yeah.
So, you make guitar picks out of seashells.
I do.
What gave you that idea?
You know, I'm a genius, so no, really, it was many years ago. My son is grown and out of the house and is married and in his early 30s. But many years ago, there was a time when I would read my son a story while he was crawling into bed. So on occasion, I would instead tinker around on the guitar and he would drift off into sleep.
Oh, wow. Well,
one day I went into his room. The room's dark, had my guitar, settled in on the floor next to the bed, gonna play him a lullaby, so to speak. But, oh man, I didn't bring my pick. It just so happened, we live in Florida, we're often at the beach. He had a little chip on his end table. I said, well, let's give it a try. So I started tinkering around with it, and I said, sure enough, it has a unique sound, a unique feel. Seashell is hard, of course. So it has that hardness and a very unique sound to it. And I really liked it a lot. So one thing led to another. I tinkered around building, sanding and chipping, and finally figured out how to make one. And I really liked it and showed it to friends, and they liked it too. So I became a pick maker after many years of experiments.
Nice. So I have a question. Your son is like in his 30s now, correct?
Yep.
How old were you? How old was he when you had done this the first time?
He must have been maybe 6 or something in that area, 6 or 9, you know, something like that. I guess, yeah, about 20 years ago, so more than 20 years ago. Yeah, probably about 6 or so, you know, just a little guy running around the house and causing havoc.
The reason why I ask is my son is 1, and he loves my guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Pianos, and anytime he sees the guitar, piano, or like bongos or drums or anything, he's like, So I cannot take a guitar in his room for bedtime. That's a no-no. That's playtime for him. And I listen to you, I'm like, dude, what did I do wrong? Yeah. he walks into a room and sees a guitar, and he's like, nope, that's not yours. We're in somebody's house. You can't play that. And he's like, da 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 da. And he loves anything music. He's my son, you know. I can't blame him for that.
That's right.
Yeah, but I think as I heard you speak, I'm like, well, I can never take a guitar for bedtime. That's just a no-no for me in my house, you know, because he'd be like, da da.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were a guitar player way back in the day, yes?
Yes.
How long have you played guitar?
40 years or so.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I started late actually. I was maybe 20 years old when I started.
Wow. Go ahead.
I had been singing with a band,
Oh,
and we were into rock and roll, and you know, we were playing Aerosmith and Queen and Rush, and you know, that kind of progressive rock thing that was going on at the time, and I was singing in the band, but you know, it just led to another thing. We had guitars in the house, so I eventually got a little more serious about, you know, learning how to actually use the darn thing.
okay. So on like a scale of like,
This is a picture of me. Let me see if I can center this. Okay, that's me singing in the band.
nice. Freddie Mercury right there.
Yeah.
So was your band a huge, successful rock star band?
No, you know, we played a few clubs and stuff like that, and the guitarist was really very good. He could play Van Halen and the whole thing. He was really quite talented and very young, but his family moved away, so we ended up with a shell of a band, and it was inconvenient for me at the time. I was going to college and things like that, so it didn't really work out again with those particular people, and I just never found other people that I really liked to be with enough to play. I had friends, and we'd fool around, but we had some more fun. It was more of a fun thing than a business thing.
No, I 100% understand that. I think there's a difference between jamming with your buddies and going, let's do this professionally because I like you enough to spend a very long time in a bus with you. Yeah.
Really? Good point.
Yeah. So your son was like 6-ish, between 6 and 9. How old were you when you made the first pick, or at least picked up the seashell?
Yeah, so that would have made me somewhere about 35 to 39, you know, late 30s,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 33.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 34 now when this video airs, because this has not been pre-recorded.
Right. So I'm actually in my early 60s now. I'm 61. So.
Gotcha. Nice.
Yeah.
And so you pick up just a seashell.
Mm-hmm.
That was laying on your son's, bedside table, desk, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing this lullaby. And at what moment does it hit you? Man, this works.
Well, pretty much immediately. You know, as soon as you strike the string with a seashell in particular, and I had never experimented with all the other materials that are available like you see today. You know, there was no internet, so nobody knew anything. Yeah. So it was all plastic stuff, and it was almost instantly you could tell there was something more than just a pluck.
Yeah.
It had a sound. It had a feel.
And I know what sound you're talking about because a friend of mine over the summer went to Florida and picked up a bunch of seashells. And he said, man, make guitar picks out of these. And he said, they kind like in the day he gave them to me, he said, these kind of already look like guitar picks. Let's try it. And without touching them, he shredded away with just something he found in Florida on the beach. And he was like, dude, there's something awesome here. Now, I have some questions for you regarding how you get your shapes and stuff. But we'll get into that later because I haven't perfected that yet. But you have, which I'm so excited that you're on this video today. So you play the lullaby for your son, and then what? What happens next?
Well, it was basically a by hand thing. I didn't know if it would work. I didn't know, you know, it was just a chip of a seashell. How thin can I go with this thing? You know, I mean, does it have to be, you know, that thick or, you know? So it was more or less by hand. I smoothed it out. I shaped it out and did it by hand. But then when I found that it was pretty cool, after I made a couple, and began using them, then I realized, now this happened over the course of many years. I didn't right away think, oh, business. I can, you know, I can make possibly a career or at least a hobby out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just kind of a, oh, let me try this kind of thing. But eventually it progressed into what I have today, where I have a setup and can make a seashell guitar pick in, you know, less than an hour anyway. Start to finish, picking it up from the sand and polishing it till it's ready for, you know, whatever, whether I post it for sale or use it.
Yeah. So you said less than an hour from the time you pick it up. You take your big, humongous toolbox set with you to the beach?
No, of course not. But, you know, half of it is really living on the beach. You know, you just my wife and I walking on the beach. I've been married over 30 years too. So thank you. So just my wife and I, you know, taking regular walks on the beach, you know, we'll pick up odds and ends of this and that. And then I began to make it a more serious looking venture, you know, seeking them out. And she's become very good at finding them too.
I was going to ask. It seems like this is not only a fun leisurely activity, but it's sort of like we can do this and we can also make money, babe. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Awesome. Well, one, congrats for being married for 30 years. That's I've only been married for 2.5, and things are going great. I love it, but
awesome.
It's a long-term goal, you know, like until I die, you know.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's great, and it's encouraging to me to see somebody happy and successful and continuing with their marriage, even to this day, you know. You see, I mean, it is 2021 now, and you see, you know, relationships end like crazy. So it's, I mean,
True.
You're not only a testament, but you're something to look up to and look forward to in my personal life goals outside of picnic. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Well, what a great thing to say. Thank you.
Yeah. So when you said it was a lot of trial and error over a lot of years, at what point did you say, I'm there, I'm ready to start promoting my product online?
Well, I experimented with many methods. And when I found the method that I could use that I wouldn't break so many picks, because in the beginning, you know, heat and too much pressure, you had to learn how to have a touch, so to speak. Just like you learn a touch on playing the guitar, you had to have the right touch on shaping the pick without it damaging it and that kind of thing. And then experimenting with various materials. So I currently use, and I can take you on a little trip to my shop and show you.
Go! Yeah, I'm ready. Let's take a virtual tour.
Okay, let's go.
What was that?
That might have been the dinner bell or my guitar as I clumsily exited my seat. But anyway.
Yeah, you're the one that offered this virtual tour, so I'm excited.
That's it.
In the interview.
So here I am. This is basically a garage garage room. Let me see if I can manipulate the camera around. Let's see. I have to turn it around away from me, but you can see it's disguised as a typical junk room or garage. But actually, what was really happening here is, oops, there you go. Okay, so this is my my mighty setup here. Okay.
Is that a what's it called, like a stone grinder?
It's a bench grinder, exactly. Okay. And what I've done is covered the stone. The stone is in the middle, but I've covered them with diamond coated sanding. It's not paper, but it's actually metal. But so anyway, it's diamonds. Okay.
Okay.
So it cuts very quickly, and I can use different thicknesses and so on, and get a nice fine sheen to them. And just see if I could show. Okay, you see this little conglomeration of shells here?
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing I'll pick up off the sand, right? Just chips of shell. And then here I have one that I've flattened both sides. Let me face it towards me again. Okay, you can see, I've flattened both sides, and I'm about to, created my outline, all right? So then I'll start cutting, all right? And I have to use water to keep the material cool.
Okay.
So I have a little water delivery system.
That is cool.
Along with the diamonds and yeah, this will catch the water,
Okay.
little tubs, and I got a whole system going here.
And you sort of designed all this yourself.
I'm like a mad scientist back here.
You said genius in the very beginning, and I'm starting to believe you. Okay. So, man, so many questions now. When looking, we probably should have stayed in there for a second. But when looking for seashells, what that captivates your eye and says this is good versus this one is not going to be good to use?
Well, seashells, those chips that you see are actually, part of a larger shell.
Yeah.
So they'll get banged around. They've already been banged around. I mean, I'm not killing any animals to get those shells. They're just flowing off the beach, right? So they've already been banged around in the surf a lot. So some of them are too far gone. Yeah. Just, nothing I can do with them. They're got holes in them, and the sun is beat on them and that kind of thing. But mainly it's the size. It's got to be big enough to make the pick shape out of it, right? Yeah. And it's got to be thick enough that when I smooth it out and get a nice, finished product, it's got to have been thick enough that I can do that. If I pick up something too skinny, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. Now, I got a new piece of equipment recently, and I've been struggling with it. And something you said a few minutes ago was like, ooh, like hone in on that. When doing this, it's a lot of trial and error. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
You tried different things before you got to the bench sander?
Yeah, again, it was everything by hand. There was a place that I worked at that had a shop in it that I wasn't the shop person, but it had a grinder. Okay. They had a bench grinder in there for sharpening tools and so on, what you would normally use a bench grinder for. And that's when I saw that, I said, oh, of course, right? Instead of standing there, that's what I needed. And I tried with stone, but stone, there was too much heat. And then I'd have to keep the product wet, but still it was too rough. and didn't cut very fast. So that led me to, the people use diamonds to cut diamonds.
Yeah.
Jewelers and so on. And there are stone makers, people who work with stone. They call it cabbing. And they take stones that are found in riverbeds and somewhat that kind of thing. There's even some stone pick makers, so you may have run into those.
Yeah, I've not interviewed one yet, but I would like to. Yeah.
So, they're probably using different machines than I am, but I had a bench grinder, which is not a very expensive tool to have. So I found a way I could make it work for me.
Okay. So my wife and I actually talked about me getting a bench grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up buying we ended up buying the I guess it's the 180 belt sander.
Oh, sander. Yeah, I have one of those too for polishing.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, like one of my goals is to make real arrowhead guitar picks out of flint.
Yeah.
Real, because the material that I use is not stone, it's not flint, it's not anything that Native American Indians would have made real arrowheads from.
Right.
I happened across an arrowhead that my brother had, and he has like a collection of a bunch of stuff. And I found one arrowhead. I go, hey, can I have this? And he's like, yeah, why? And I said, well, it's not smooth, but I want to see if I can get it smooth. And
right.
The material that I'm using, the sander, is like, dude, sparks were flying. I was like, no, It was insane because I'm used to woodworking and I'm used to doing stuff with various materials. This isn't mine. This is Plumstone Guitar Picks. I don't know if you've ever heard of this.
Yes, yeah. I had.
He made the custom for me the toothpick, which I thought was cool. He did a competition. He said, "What pick would you like me to make?" I'm like, "A toothpick," and he goes like a toothpick. I'm like, "No,
you don't have one shaped like a nose, do you?"
I don't. Genius! That's genius!
Eureka!
Yeah. All right, somebody, either you and me are going to do this before the time this video is aired, or we're going to get our ideas stolen. It's just
okay. We'll have to wash our hands afterwards.
Yes. But like I during my process with this new sander, because I, like you, have done everything by hand, and so far it's been so time consuming but easy. And then you get a new piece of equipment and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like I felt failure. Like the first day I got my my sander set up and I'm so excited. I did an Instagram live and dude, I'm flipping crying on the video. I deleted it. So nobody could see it. Like, I'm a horrible pick maker. And my buddy Rick from Honey Picks was like, dude, you don't look, you're just trying a new piece of equipment. You're not a horrible pick maker. I've seen your work. You're not bad, but trying something new won't always work the first time. And I was like, okay, thank you. You know what I mean? Like I was so frustrated that night. So
you've perfected it on your end then, more or less?
As of earlier today, not yet. Because I'm used to taking, rats. I usually have sandpaper right in this bag, but I was working on them earlier. So what I usually do is I'll take a sticker because I almost grabbed my debit card and then I thought that's going to be bad. If I go, here's my debit card, everybody.
Yeah, right.
But I either lay it on something like super flat and just kind of go like this, curve it over and do that, right? Which is great, super time consuming though.
Yes.
You have to cut the pick out by hand with a hacksaw, which is what I'm used to doing. And I bought a $13 hand sander from Walmart, like an orbital sander, and just set it between my knees.
Yeah.
And went to town with wood. And dude, for 4 months, I got tons of use out of it.
Yeah.
Died. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was really great. And when I got into different materials, like with the white arrowhead, it was easier to do it by hand because like you just into the orbital sander and you've already destroyed the pick.
Right.
super light, super gentle. So at what point did you figure out what was good in like a solid method for, okay, I'm not messing up seashell picks all the time. This is easy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, it was a gradual thing. When I first got a belt sander, I did this exact same thing. I tried, and breaking more than I could make, and, just wasting material and wasting time. I'd be careful as I could and get towards the end and boink, something would happen. So I realized I needed to use water as a lubricant and to keep the material cool. Okay, so that helped it a little more. And then I realized, okay, how are these people cutting, the jewelers, for instance, cutting such hard things, right? And doing it efficiently. They're cutting diamonds. How come I can't cut a seashell?
Yeah.
So I started looking into jewelers. What do jewelers use? And they use these, various files and the sanding discs that I use that are coated with diamond, which is very hard and cuts very fine. You can get, different grades, just like you can with sandpaper.
Yeah, I have not even considered the option of consulting a jeweler.
Yeah.
Now you've got my gears turning, buddy. I'm like, yes, I'm going to try that. I'm going to call him tomorrow. But so at what point did you think, all right, I can do this as a sustainable hobby?
Well, I guess again, it was just something I did in my spare time. I'm watching TV.
Yeah.
Half the time I'm sitting there playing guitar mindlessly, so to speak, and watching TV. Just sitting and doing one thing is, I I like to do other things while I'm watching TV, But that was another thing that I would do. I'd be sitting there and scraping and, that kind of thing. But I realized that I really enjoyed the end product. When I finished one and it worked out great, it was wonderful. I loved using it, for one thing. I love the sound that it creates. It has unique timbre. And it was kind of fun to make, a little labor intensive and too many failures. But when I realized, okay, let's get a little more serious with the right tools to get it done. So I did a little research on the internet and that kind of thing, found out more about it, and said, gee, I don't need anything super expensive or anything. It's just a matter of knowing, what to get. So that was it.
But when was this?
Oh gosh. Well, let me think. Most of the time, from the time that I first picked up that little chip of shell when my son was drifting off to sleep, there was many years had passed in between when I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
I was working, family, trying to keep things going, and struggling just like every other red-blooded American boy. And it wasn't until many years later that I took more of my free time to experiment with that. And as I got better at it, I realized after, using them, of course, I use them exclusively. I don't like plastic, except for that maybe once in a while you get that clickety-clack strum sound, that clickety-clack sound that can be useful. And seashell isn't for everybody either. I'm sure it's very rigid. But anyway, it was something that happened gradually, and I thought, let's try getting a little more serious about making them. And I found I really enjoy making them. I enjoy the end product. I enjoy the process of making them. And that's how it became to be BeachSide Picks.
Why the name BeachSide Picks?
I'm sorry?
Why the name BeachSide Picks?
Well, I live more or less a block away from the beach.
Fair enough.
I can literally walk to the beach.
I felt like that was the obvious answer, but I also wanted to ask, you know.
Yeah, and of course I picked these up off the sand, off the coast of Florida. So, man.
You had mentioned using exclusively these picks. What is the difference you have found in the tonal properties between the seashell material and then, like, let's say plastic or nylon or, you know, the UHMPW? I don't know what that's called, but I know people use that. What is the tonal value?
I haven't tried all the products out there, all the things that you could possibly use. But for one thing, I guess what really got the wheel started, one of my favorite guitarists is Brian May, who happens to use a coin, a sixpence. It was a metal pick. So I have tried metal, but it was a little too harsh for my taste. He has a certain touch that makes it work for him, but it didn't really work for me. So I needed something or wanted something not quite as harsh as metal would be. And I had experimented with shaping metal and so on, you know, that kind of thing. But eventually from that moment, I always recall that moment I picked up that little chip, and it had a timbre to it. First of all, there's a touch that every guitarist has on the guitar, and plastic can kind of, how should I put it, mask that touch. In other words, each note, you can hit it very hard or very softly. With plastic, it kind of evens out the tones, which is a nice advantage. But on the other hand, when you want extremes, and I love that in music. I love, you know, bands that have extremes in sound, very soft, then very loud, and, you know, that kind of thing. So the seashell provides that. The touch is extremely important and has a unique sound. You know, I could play. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm on the wrong setting, but I could probably play it just to show you, but it probably wouldn't translate well in these you know, cheap little microphone. But
Yeah, I've tried that in the past, and it's hit or miss. Sometimes I'm sitting there going, I can't hear you, you know. So yeah, that's why part of it was like, what is your opinion on it? Now, I will say, throughout this whole conversation, a lot of what you've discussed reminds me of like what I do with the deer antler. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
no.
So very early on, you said, you know, like no animals were harmed. And I thought that was hilarious because it's seashells. And I'm like, of course. But like so deers shed their antlers every winter. And one year, my father-in-law, well, it was earlier this year. It was, you know, well, technically it's January now. So it was last year anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes we make mistakes on when this was videoed and aired. It's irrelevant. But my father-in-law found some sheds, and he said, I've been really secretly wanting to make you a deer antler pick, but I have no idea how. Mark, you're the pick maker, not me. I'm just the guy who taught you how to do woodworking. And he said, do you think it could be done? I was like, I don't know. So we got on his bandsaw and sliced up a deer antler. And he said, go see what you can do at home. Okay. And I sanded it down, and I only sanded the one side because I wanted to leave the top part, you know, like this part look like a deer antler, you know, like really cool looking up top. So I just put down this.
Yeah.
Took it to church like the following day. And I gave 2 guitar picks to my buddy, and I went, try this. And he went, dude, you're not getting this back. And this is the best pick I've ever played. And I'm like, what? And like you've mentioned, like it provides unique qualities. It provides a tone that you can't get from just a piece of plastic or nylon or that standard 50-cent guitar pick you get at Guitar Center. And I'm not slamming them, but I think there's a huge reason why people like you and me exist and make nice, higher end, tonal qualities, good sounding, good sturdy picks that provide a difference in our playing.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely is a market there. You know, I'm not getting rich off of this. I still consider it more of a hobby, but it does pay for itself. I'm not.
Yeah. And I don't disagree. Like when I had started this, my wife was in full support. And it seems like your wife is as well. Yes?
Yeah, very much.
But everything that we've done with the company has been from the company. I originally started this. I don't know if you'd seen this in one of my prior interviews, but I was making Christmas gifts for everybody one Christmas. And I made like some pocket knives. I made like some vases, some candlestick holders, you know, just typical woodworking stuff. And like I made a razor for my brother, like with the handles all wooden and cool. I did it on a lathe. It was super cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and I had a small piece of wood and I had a guitar pick in my pocket. And I went, ooh, you know what I'm gonna do for my buddy that I jam with? I'm gonna make a pick for him. Well, I'm gonna try to, right? And so I basically just put the guitar pick on the piece of wood and traced it, and then did exactly what my father-in-law had been teaching me regarding the razor, like, you know, the shaving razor, regarding the pocket knives. And he was teaching me so much stuff. And I think I could do this. And like from the moment I started, it was so simple because it's like, man, I've been playing guitar since I was a kid. I've been playing guitar for 20 years. I know exactly what a guitar pick feels like. I know exactly what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I didn't know how to make it, but like I knew when it was finished, I was like, this is it, you know, because I just knew.
Pick of destiny, right?
Yeah. And it all made sense. And it's been very cool to be able to turn that into like a sustainable hobby. I mean, we're not getting rich off of this, but it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. And I don't know, I feel like one of the things I encourage the viewers is like, you can do anything you want to do. You and me both didn't set out to be pick makers on any
Right.
ever, you know? But here we are. We're having an interview tonight. It's going to be released sometime in the future, January something to be exact. And it's like, dude, you can do anything you set your mind to.
True. It's my small contribution to the music recording industry, or, you know, whatever you call it, live music industry. All right. my small contribution that is a pleasure to be a part of.
Now, throughout this whole conversation, some conversation that Chris from Dragon Picks and I had rings some questions that I want to ask you. When you were playing guitar and you were learning, like, one, who is influencing you? And then two, have you given any of your picks to those guys that have influenced your musical career to lead you to this point?
Unfortunately, I've lost contact with those guys. You know, I was living in a different part of the world. I was living in New York at the time. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm originally from Queens, New York, and it wasn't until many years later, shortly after we were married and had our first child, that we moved to Florida. But so I have unfortunately lost touch. I've tried to seek them out. I would love to give one of my picks to the guitarist in the band that I was in. He was such a good guitarist for such a young kid. It would be great if I could, but I certainly would if I could, but I haven't been able to do so.
That's okay. Maybe one day, maybe he's a fan of Hippie Picks and has been watching all my videos and he's like, I know him. He's in my band. You know, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what, you know, led us here. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened.
Yes, there's been so many strange things happen last year in 2020, because this is 2020 21 now.
Yeah, boy, you could write a book on that.
So what is next for you? What is next for Beachside Picks? What is coming up? What do you have in the bag? I know that before we started this interview, I asked you about materials, and you had mentioned you experiment with other materials, but this whole interview seems to be about seashells because that's your bread and butter.
Yeah.
But what else is coming?
Well, shapes, sizes, materials are basically seashell, but I'm beginning to notice that there are slight differences in hardnesses and therefore in the sound and feel of some of them. This pick here is maybe 1 millimeter thick.
Okay.
That's pretty thin.
Yeah.
So, notice the shape.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
So it gives you, yeah, it gives you 3 different corners. If I turn it this way, that's like your standard plastic pick shape, right?
Yeah.
More or less the same. Now, if I turn this end down, okay, it's a little narrower along the edges and that sharp tip.
Yeah.
Now, instead of a rounded corner like you would find on the typical, I took one of those corners and made it come to a point.
Yeah.
So it's got that wide angle because some guitarists like using the wider side. But when you do that, of course, it's really difficult to pick out single notes, single strings.
Yeah.
Especially doing it fast. But you know, so this was kind of you know, my own unique approach. This happens to be one of my favorites shapes because I like using that edge. I like it. For me, it works.
Yeah.
For others, they might like the sharper end.
Yeah.
So, you know, then I have different shapes that I work with.
Now,
Got your triangle.
I do have a random question. This sounds super silly, but I feel like you might know it, and I just am oblivious. You think of like wood, right? You think of like wood material. You got like zebra wood, bacote, bloodwood, poplar, olive wood, maple, ash, whatever. And for the most part, if you play an ash pick, all ash picks are going to sound the same. You play bacote, which is something I offer. I make bacote, you know, wood and zebra wood, and those two have 2 different tonal properties. Now, this is going to sound like a dumb question, but is there a shell category of like, this is this type of shell, this is that type of shell? Where it's like, you see what I'm saying? You see what I don't even know how to ask that question properly.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I'm beginning to discover, I say I'm beginning because I have no way of proving the differences. It's just sort of a feel. Certain ones that I pick up have a different feel, hard to explain, a different sound and a different feel than others. And they're very slight and can almost seem random. Like it's not necessarily, I can pick up a piece and say, I know what's going to come out of this. I'm still discovering as we go along. I'm still learning this.
I feel like this interview is over. I'm going to go Google this question. Like that was something I'd never thought about until you were talking about shapes and thicknesses. And I went, is there shell groupings? I don't know. I'm not a shell maker. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, there are many animals that grow shells, you know, conchs, you know, mussels, clams, oysters, you know, those are all shells. Certain shells, I've discovered, say oysters, they're very difficult to work with. That they tend to be very brittle and just break apart. And I don't know of any mussel shells that come thick enough that I can actually, you know, make something functional out of it. It seems to be mainly chips of the regular clam,
Okay.
typical clam. And there's probably 1,000 different species of clam.
Yeah.
And it's as I say, it's something I'm discovering as we go along. There might be something of a difference between the species that give you a certain feel or a certain sound. I have certain favorites. I'm not sure why they're my favorite, but they happen to be my favorite.
Yeah.
And of course, a lot of it is the size. I can make seashell picks that are 5 millimeters thick, and I have done that for special order type things, and sometimes I offer them for sale too. So I can make them real thick and then taper down the edge to a fine edge, almost like a knife point kind of thing. And then I can make those very, very, very thin ones. A recent discovery that I really enjoy is, gosh, it's hard to see, but one side, okay. So it's not exactly flat on one side, you could see. I've flattened down one side and polished it, right? But on the other side, I've left the natural formation or growth that that shell was found in, and it's a very rough surface. And I actually have a customer or two who uses this particular one because he'll make sounds with it. That was on the flat edge. That was a you can pick scrape on the edge of the pick like normal, kind of like that. But it's so rough, I can use the flat edge, and it makes a great grip.
Nice.
But of course, in so doing, it has to be a rather thick one. So you have to be able to, use it. You learn.
Yeah. Awesome. Man, well, it was very great talking to you. I have one last question. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Etsy. I have an Etsy store, and you could probably Google Beachside Picks. You'll find Etsy, you'll find Reverb, you'll find eBay, and maybe my Facebook page will pop up.
Okay.
And if you go to my Facebook page, I post, every time I post a pick, I advertise it, so to speak, on my Facebook page, and there's links to all those various sites.
It's Picks with an X, correct?
Yes. No, that's actually, it's Beachside Picks, Picks.
Now, see, I got on your Instagram, it's with an X.
Ah. Oh, that's my name. I must have used that as my Instagram name. That's why. But I probably the other name was taken. I'm not sure why I did that.
Mm-hmm. So it's PKS. Okay. Yeah. Well, I was trying to explain a second ago. I was like Picks with an X, but I said K twice, and I was like, it's not with a K. I meant an X, and then you were like, no, it's not with an X. It's with a K.
Yeah, I actually spell out the whole thing. Beachside Picks as one word, and yeah, you should be able to find it without a hassle. Just Google it or something like that.
Dude, thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Hey, what's in yours, by the way?
Oh, look at this. Look at this. I got the high voltage, high level, it's D4, which is an unsponsored sponsor. Because I drink every day.
I love it. I can't tell you what's in mine. We don't know who's watching.
Did you see the interview I released years ago now? Just kidding. Where he said he was at a pub. The guy was at a pub. His name was Mark.
I saw that one. Yes.
He said, yeah, it's freaking cold apple juice. And I went, no, it's not. But that's awesome. Freaking cold apple juice. It's the best way to. It looks like beer, Mom. No, it's cold apple juice, son. Yeah, whatever. So yeah, awesome. Well, Rand, this is so cool. I feel like I want to go home and study now.
No, no, but keep it fun, man. Keep it fun.
Yeah. No, like, but in all honesty, like when I had never thought of the where even like where do seashells come from? I like during the course of this interview, I was like, do I know that answer? And then listening to you, it was like, dude, like I've learned so much. Yeah.
I'm like the Bill Nye of seashells. Huh?
Bill Nye, the seashell guy. Seashell. Whatever. Yeah. It is whatever. I messed up that joke. Oh well. Well, listen, my man, I'm gonna let you go.
Hey, it was a blast, man. This is cool.
I would love to have you back on the show again.
I would like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I could interview you.
Hey, you're the first person to ask that. And I'm wanting somebody to be like, dude, let's do an interview with Hippie Picks, but not Hippie Picks guy doing the interview. Yeah, so for sure, you got it. Yeah, we can set that up. We can shoot it next week if you want. No, I'm just kidding. But 100%, like I'm not kidding at all. We can talk more about that, you know, once we get off this interview thing. But I'm very excited about that.
Good.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go. You have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay?
Thumbs up, man. Keep it cool.
Awesome, brother. See ya. Man, do you not feel smarter watching that video? I do. I don't feel smarter, but I feel like I want to get smarter. Like, where do seashells come from? Are there seashell classes that are all the same? I don't know. These are questions I'd never thought of before. And then during the course of this interview, I'm just like, this dude is so cool. Listen, I love you guys. I'd like to thank Classic Barbershop for always sponsoring the show, as well as Landrum Investments. They are both proud sponsors of these silly Hippie Picks interviews. We got the high voltage going. We got Lawrence's Plumstone guitar pick, toothpick. And we got me saying I love you. And as always, keep it real. Keep it cranked to 11 because that's what you're supposed to do. Well, it's like not 10. It's 11. It's higher than 10. It's 11. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a great day. And as always, be a hippie.